Hi there, my name is Nate Gibson. I am getting my endorsement in high school mathematics. I just graduated from Azusa Pacific University with my undergraduate in my mathematics about a month ago. And so, yeah, very excited to get started with the program and meet you all. So first off, as far as a metaphor for knowledge, for myself as someone going into teaching math, um, I think math is certainly on the hard knowledge side of the spectrum. I think most of what we're teaching in these math courses is fairly concrete. The definition of being verifiable, definitive, and cumulative. I think math certainly is all those things cumulative. It very much builds on itself from unit to unit. You got to have a previous level of knowledge coming into the course, and then as you work your way through the course, you're building on what you've already been teaching. And it's verifiable in the sense that each student should be getting the same answer on all these problems. There's a correct answer and incorrect answers, and there's not a lot of wiggle room. Whereas in the classes with more soft knowledge, you could have more debate going on. As far as as far as pure knowledge versus applied knowledge, I think math, in a sense, is pure knowledge in the sense that it's abstract. These concepts aren't things that exist in the real world per se. I mean, if you're thinking about the number two, that's not a concrete thing. That's an idea we've invented to symbolize something. And so, as we're working it with math and algebra or geometry or whatever it is, these ideas are abstract. Think about the quadratic formula, and that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it does in the sense that what we have it represent, and so we teach it, and students learn that negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. They learn that, and that is that's a sense of pure knowledge, and it's abstract. But I think the goal with math should be that we create some sort of applied knowledge. And so, whereas math itself would be hard knowledge and pure knowledge, I think the only way it's ever going to mean something to a student is if we get it to a point where it is applied knowledge, and it has to mean something to students. And if the question is often asked in math classes, especially I know when I was in high school, myself and all my friends were always asking, why do we need to know this? Not only math classes, but all classes. And with math, that can sometimes be a difficult question to answer, because if a student doesn't have an interest in going into a profession or an occupation that ultimately uses a lot of math, a lot of what's in the classes can be difficult to come up with a reason why they need to know this. And so I think as math educators, we need to be good at answering that question as far as why does this matter? How does this apply practically to life going forward? And I think two things. One, the Bob Moses reading certainly touches on it, how much of a shift there is going towards careers that use math or technology or science, and these STEM fields. These careers are becoming more and more needed, and there's more and more of a demand, especially in a job market that in other areas is lacking jobs. And so, on one sense, encouraging students that there is a future here if this is something that you find interest in. But two, I think math teaches students how to think analytically. And so, in those senses, I would hope that the math class that I'm teaching in has a sense of applied knowledge in addition to just the pure mathematical knowledge of teaching the content. The metaphor for teaching, I think, best fits me as I go into teaching math is teaching is telling and controlling, the definition being that teachers prescribe discrete sets of disciplinary knowledge to be learned by students. Again, math is, there's generally right and wrong answers, and there's generally a very formulaic way of solving problems. And so rather than it being a course where we're looking at individual students' needs, and again, students will learn differently, and different models and things will work differently for them. But I do think in the grand scheme of things, we are trying to get all students to the point where they're able to solve these problems, and generally they're done in similar ways. And so rather than looking at students so individually, I think there is more of a, as it says, a disciplinary knowledge, and it's kind of this like, this is the formula you use, and this is the way we do things, and if you follow this order of operations and these type of things, it's going to be effective in the math classroom. When it comes to metaphor for literacy, I think that literacy as adaptation is the one that best fits, where the definition was emphasizes functional literacy skills that allow students to operate in daily life, especially in school or vocational life. And so again here, in most math classes, you're not going to find yourself writing a lot of essays, or the writing and reading isn't necessarily the purpose. The purpose, of course, is being able to operate and understand these mathematical concepts. And so when where writing and reading is needed is in order to communicate the function of what we're trying to talk about. And so you're going to struggle in a math class if you're not able to read and understand the terminology being used when it comes to whatever we're discussing, whether it's if you're, again, talking about the quadratic formula and it's talking about the roots of an equation. If you don't understand what that means, you're going to struggle. In the same way, if you're trying on the writing side, if you're not able to clearly describe what is going on, and oftentimes this math can be a difficult thing to write about because instead of, it's not as much like English in the sense that with math, you need to be able to write and describe things that are more abstract and can be difficult to understand in the first place. And then if you're writing and you're not there to explain it, you have to be very clear and concise. And so in those ways, I think math is literacy as adaptation. It needs to, the writing and reading is for the function and to help get by and help students understand where we're at. Looking at the Bob Moses reading, I think when it comes to his metaphors for knowledge, I think it's similar to my own in the sense that it is hard knowledge. It's we need students to be able to come up with concrete, correct answers that are verifiable, definitive, and cumulative. And again, to begin, it is pure knowledge in the sense that math, again, is abstract and theoretical, and we are talking about these concepts that don't exist in the real world necessarily. But I think Bob Moses is certainly pushing for a very applied knowledge. He has such an emphasis on we need minority students, but all students, but certainly minority students, to be able to apply what they're learning, and whether it be vocationally or just moving forward, getting into college, not having to take remedial courses. There is a practical use for what we're learning, and then he also describes in his the mathematics for trips at the end, where he is in a more simple way, he's applying to our daily life in the sense of talking about traveling and how we can use math in day-to-day situations to help us figure things out, help to figure out daily problems. And so both day-to-day and then also just looking towards the future vocationally and getting into college and all these things, and all these jobs that are being created in the mathematics and technology fields. Yeah, he has an emphasis certainly put on applied knowledge, I feel like. And so I would say for Bob Moses, it's hard knowledge and applied knowledge. And again, I have a similar feeling. I feel like if in a math class, you can take this hard knowledge, and while it is pure knowledge in itself, if we can make it applied and make it matter to students, that's where we're going to see students begin to work hard and feel as though what they're learning is important and is worth putting time and effort into. Again, excited to meet you all going forward and share this experience with the MTMS program.